She was 4 years old when Jean-Paul Gaultier put her on a runway. At 10, a single Vogue photo shoot crowned her the most beautiful girl in the world and sparked one of the loudest controversies in modern fashion. To some, she was a child prodigy, a rare beauty destined for Hollywood fame. To others, she was proof of an industry willing to blur innocence for spectacle. Thylane Blondeau could have chased the Hollywood script: fame, roles, red carpets, headlines. Instead, she chose something quieter: French chic, natural beauty, a career built on her own pace. So why did the girl the world couldn't stop watching refuse to play by its rules? Early life. Thylane Lena Rose Blondeau was born on April 5, 2001 in Aix-en-Provence, a sunlit town in the south of France. Her life began at the intersection of fame and ordinarity. Her father, Patrick Blondeau, was a professional footballer, tall, celebrated, always under stadium lights. Her mother, Veronica Loubry, was a TV presenter and actress, familiar with the rhythms of celebrity. For Thylane, growing up in that environment meant cameras and expectations were never far away. As a child, she was described as quiet but observant. She loved simple pleasures: sketching, playing with her friends, swimming under the Provence sun. Yet, even then, her striking looks made her stand out. Her piercing blue eyes and sculpted features often drew comments from strangers. To her, it felt normal. To the fashion world, it was lightning waiting to be bottled. At just 4 years old, she walked her first runway for Jean-Paul Gaultier. Most children her age were still learning how to write their names. Thylane was learning how to command an audience under spotlights. She didn't stumble, she didn't freeze. She walked with the poise of someone twice her age. Industry insiders whispered, this child could be the next icon. But childhood in front of flashbulbs came with contradictions. On one hand, she was adored, celebrated as precocious and gifted. On the other, she was thrust into an adult world before she had time to be a child. The turning point came in 2011, when at just 10 years old, she appeared in a Vogue Enfant spread. The shoot, dark makeup, adult poses, gold dress, exploded across global media. Overnight, she was dubbed the most beautiful girl in the world. Praise poured in, but so did backlash. Critics accused the magazine of sexualizing a child, using her beauty as spectacle rather than celebration. For Thylane, the noise was confusing. To her, it was just another photo shoot, something her parents supervised, something she thought of as play. But the headlines marked her forever. She was no longer just a child, she was a controversy. From the very beginning, her story carried tension. Adored by designers, doubted by critics, loved by the camera, but questioned by the world. Would you call that childhood a gift or a burden dressed in couture? First love, heartbreak, fall. Growing up in the spotlight, Thylane Blondeau's first love wasn't a person, it was escape. For a girl called the most beautiful in the world before she was even a teenager, the runway became both comfort and cage. When she wasn't walking shows, she was sketching dresses in her notebooks, trying to claim some part of fashion as her own. Real romance came in her late teens. By then, she was already signed to IMG Models, walking for Dolce & Gabbana, appearing in Teen Vogue and Vogue Italia. Her face was everywhere, and yet she craved something normal, someone who would see her beyond the headlines. She found that in a young model turned actor she briefly dated. To outsiders, it was a picture-perfect match. Two rising stars, both impossibly good-looking. He gave her a small bracelet on her birthday, a simple silver chain. She wore it in candid photos, a quiet signal that for once, something in her life wasn't staged. But fame has a way of turning even private love into public spectacle. Paparazzi followed them, blogs speculated on every move. What could have been soft and steady quickly became another stage. The cracks showed fast. He wanted her present, but she was always on planes, flying to Milan or New York for shoots. She wanted quiet dinners, but he thrived on being seen. Distance turned affection into arguments, and soon the bracelet felt heavier than it looked. When they finally broke up, it wasn't scandalous. No tabloid headlines screamed betrayal. It was just silence. Unfollowed accounts, missed calls, the kind of heartbreak that doesn't explode, only fades. Thylane later admitted in an interview that she realized then how fragile relationships could be under fame. She said, "Sometimes people love the image of you, not the you inside." Was that heartbreak just teenage love ending? Or was that the moment she understood that normal might never be hers? Reinvention, iconic route. She emerged as a full-fledged model with contracts that many twice her age would envy. Signing with IMG Models at 15, she became the face of campaigns for Dolce & Gabbana, Versace, and L'Oréal Paris. Her walk was steady, understated, not theatrical like some of her peers, but calm and unhurried, a style critics called French chic. She wasn't trying to dominate the runway with drama. She let the clothes float around her, her gaze cool, almost detached. That restraint made her magnetic. In 2017, she appeared on the runway for Dolce & Gabbana's spring show, sharing the stage with the children of celebrities and influencers. To many, it felt like a coronation. The girl once controversial was now embraced by the establishment. But even here, there were whispers. Some called her a natural successor to icons like Leticia Costa. Others muttered that her fame was built too much on childhood myth, that she hadn't earned her place. Her reinvention wasn't limited to fashion. Thylane dabbled in acting, appearing in the French film Belle and Sebastian, The Adventure Continues, in 2015. She also launched her own clothing line, Heaven May, at just 17, proving she wasn't content to remain a muse. She wanted to be a creator. Still, balancing school, modeling, and business made her a target for criticism. Too much too soon, some said. Exactly what she was meant for, others replied. Her iconic moment came with L'Oréal Paris. As a global ambassador, she fronted campaigns that leaned into her natural look. Minimal makeup, tousled hair, effortless elegance. She wasn't painted into a Hollywood stereotype of glam. She kept it French, fresh, and disarmingly real. Yet that very refusal to conform had its cost. In an industry where drama sells, her subtleties sometimes read as forgettable. She was visible everywhere, but rarely headline-making. Was her calm, authentic style her greatest power, or the reason she never became the Hollywood star many expected? Style, activism, values. Thylane Blondeau never chased the Hollywood image of glamour. Where American starlets leaned into red carpets dripping with sequins, Thylane kept her style low-key, a French contradiction of effortlessness and precision. She favored simple silhouettes, straight jeans, white shirts, black leather jackets, the kind of looks that whispered rather than shouted. To her, beauty was confidence without costume. This minimalism wasn't laziness, it was philosophy. She often said she wanted to look like herself, not like a character invented for a photo shoot. That authenticity made her stand out in an industry obsessed with reinvention. Some called it refreshing. Others complained it was too plain for a market hungry for spectacle. Her activism showed in quiet choices. She used her platform to speak about health after undergoing ovarian cyst surgeries in 2021, posting honestly about pain, recovery, and gratitude. For her followers, it was a rare reminder that behind the perfect face was a body that endured struggle like anyone else's. She turned personal challenge into awareness, telling young women to take their health seriously. She also spoke about resisting pressure to overshare or sell an image on social media. With millions of followers, she could have monetized every moment. Instead, she kept her posts minimal, choosing intimacy over constant visibility. In a digital world where more is the standard, Thylane's restraint was almost radical. And then there was her relationship with beauty standards. Having been labeled the most beautiful girl in the world as a child, she grew up under impossible expectations. Instead of chasing that title forever, she redefined it. She promoted natural skin, minimal makeup, and confidence that came from self-acceptance rather than constant transformation. Her style was quiet, her activism subtle, but both carried weight. Was this simplicity her rebellion against Hollywood standards, or just her way of surviving them? Scandals, legal drama, present. For most models, scandal means wild nights, lawsuits, or public meltdowns. For Thylane Blondeau, the scandal was stranger. It was being too famous, too young. By her teens, the Vogue Enfants photoshoot from her childhood had already settled into internet permanence. She no longer needed to explain it. People had already decided who she was because of it. In fashion circles, the whispers were constant. Is she just living off that title? What began as a childhood crown turned into a shadow she couldn't shake. The fallout was subtle but cruel. Some casting agents avoided her, afraid of being accused of exploiting her image again. Others hired her precisely because of the controversy, knowing her name would sell headlines. Either way, it was never neutral. Every opportunity carried the weight of a debate she didn't start. Hollywood approached her more than once. Casting directors saw the perfect face for roles dripping with glamour, but the parts were shallow. The mysterious beauty, the exotic accessory to someone else's story, Thylane turned them down. To outsiders, that refusal looked like fear or lack of ambition. To her, it was choice. She didn't want to be molded into a Hollywood stereotype she couldn't recognize in the mirror. Her legal struggles were quieter. She never filed lawsuits, but she voiced her frustration over ownership of her image. Photographs of her at 10 still circulate across tabloids and websites she never signed off on. She admitted in an interview, "It's strange to see yourself frozen in time when you've already grown past it." For a generation that grew up the social media, her words felt painfully relatable. Then came her health battle. In 2021, she revealed that she had undergone 2 surgeries for ovarian cysts. The photos she shared from her hospital bed broke the illusion of perfection, and that was the point. She wanted people to see her humanity, her fragility. Fans praised her courage, saying she saved lives by encouraging young women to take their symptoms seriously. Critics rolled their eyes, accusing her of oversharing. Once again, she couldn't win. Honesty became its own controversy. By 2025, Thylane exists in a middle ground the fashion world doesn't know how to label. She walks selectively for luxury brands, runs her clothing line, and maintains millions of followers while posting sparingly. To some, she's proof that early fame faded. To others, she's proof you can choose your own pace in an industry addicted to speed. Her refusal to burn out in public has become the quiet scandal. Where others rose through chaos, she carved out longevity through restraint. So did the scandal really end when the camera stopped, or did it follow her, transformed into the question of how much control a woman ever has over her own image? Style philosophy, beliefs. For Thylane Blondeau, style was never about proving herself to Hollywood. It was about staying close to what felt real. She grew up with a title that could have crushed her, the most beautiful girl in the world, but instead of chasing it, she redefined what beauty meant on her own terms. Her philosophy was rooted in simplicity. She preferred jeans over gowns, loose hair over styled waves, and natural skin over layers of makeup. To her, authenticity was elegance. In interviews, she often reminded fans, "You don't need to transform to be beautiful. You need to feel comfortable in your own skin." That belief shaped everything. When she designed her clothing brand, Heaven May, she didn't aim for haute couture. She created casual wear, hoodies, t-shirts, easy pieces meant to be lived in. It was a quiet rebellion against an industry that often demanded glamour and spectacle. She wasn't selling fantasy, she was selling normalcy, and that made her stand out even more. Her daily rituals reflected the same values. She spoke about skincare over heavy makeup, balance over extremes, peace over chaos. Instead of flaunting luxury, she celebrated small comforts: family dinners, walks by the sea, and time spent away from cameras. Symbolically, she carried one lesson through it all: never to let labels define her. Not the most beautiful, not Hollywood material, not even the forgotten child star. She wanted to be remembered as someone who chose honesty over expectation. Her belief was clear: clothes, fame, beauty, all of it should serve the person, not consume her. Was her simplicity a refusal to play the game, or was it the boldest statement she could have made in an industry built on illusions? Legacy 2025 Update. In 2025, Thylane Blondeau is 24 years old and still a puzzle the industry can't quite solve. She doesn't headline Hollywood films, nor does she flood red carpets with spectacle, yet her face continues to appear in luxury campaigns, her name trending every few months, proof that sometimes quiet endurance leaves the deepest mark. Her selective modeling has made her more respected than overexposed. Brands like Miu Miu and L'Oreal still choose her not for noise, but for elegance. At the same time, her clothing line, Heaven May, has grown modestly, embraced not by the couture crowd, but by young fans who see it as wearable, real, and honest. Her influence is also cultural. She is invited to panels about child modeling, often cited as both the success story and the cautionary tale. Younger models point to her when arguing that industry protections should be stronger. One remarked, "If even the most beautiful girl in the world struggled to keep control of her image, what chance do the rest of us have?" That single quote shows how Thylane's career has become less about beauty and more about boundaries. She also remains a subtle but powerful advocate for health. Her openness about ovarian surgeries turned into a legacy of vulnerability as activism. In a landscape where stars often show only perfection, Thylane showed imperfection and was admired all the more for it. The contradiction, of course, remains. To some, she's the girl who never lived up to her myth. To others, she's the one who redefined what surviving the myth looks like. She never became Hollywood's darling, and maybe that was her win. So was Thylane Blondeau's legacy that she refused to chase the standard, or that she forced us to ask why the standard even exists?